Jessica Matthews, turning back to the Middle East, let's look at Syria. This issue was virtually on hold for months because of the election. Now that the election is over, do you think that President Obama will act more forcefully to break the stalemate and help the opposition dislodge the Assad regime, which he said over a year ago needed to go?
I don't think so. I think the U.S. has, in fact, behind the scenes, been doing a great deal. The administration worked very hard to try to get Russia to take a constructive role in this and not to see it as a choice between, not to feel boxed into a position where it had to back and continue to back al-Assad. They tried hard, they failed. Russia is still acting in a way that, snubs its own interests in the Middle East by backing somebody whom everybody agrees is going to go. On the other hand, I don't see any appetite in the United States or anywhere else, really, for a major military intervention. Because anything short of establishing a no-fly zone over the entire country is not going to work. And a fly zone over all of Syria would be a huge, expensive operation and a difficult one. And really the U.S. would be the only one with the air power to do it. We would carry the heaviest burden. I don't see any likelihood of that. And I think it's probably wise. On the other hand, I think that there is a growing international consensus around the idea that of a third force, elements from the Bashar regime, not him, but elements from the government, experienced elements, who put themselves forward as willing to do at least a transitional government, meeting with a broadened set of opposition groups, which come together, both the people who are still fighting inside the country and the people outside, and bring together these dozens of different opposition groups into one coherent council that can be negotiated with. So in other words, both sides have to give something to get some sort of political agreement. The only other option, is you try to pour arms and logistical help into the other side. I think it's pretty clear that that's a dead end, because no amount of imported arms is going to compete with the regime's fighter jets and tanks. And we've seen that we're at a military stalemate. So it's the political channel that has to be pushed. And as I said, to some extent, you're right. Everything less happens in everything during the middle of a political campaign. But still, this is one issue where I think they have been acting with, working hard to find some sort of solution. The good news, I think, is that just because of the sort of passage of events and things that haven't worked, there is a growing sense of international consensus around this third force option that I've just described. And we will see whether it works. It's far from clear that you could get that kind of agreement, but it's a way to try.
Would that decrease or diminish Iran's support for the regime, which is another reason why people are interested in getting this settled, because we would be responding to the democratic uprising at the same time diminishing Iran's influence, which is rather nefarious in the region because of their support Syria and vice versa.
It doesn't so much reduce Iran's support, it assumes that it can be overcome. And because Bashar will fight to the very, very end to stay, but Iran, this is one area where the sanctions have really had an effect. I mean, the sanctions have taken the value of the Iranian currency down by about 70%. The economy is in tatters. They have less money to spend to export to support their important ally in Syria. So an agreement would weaken Iran, but it's not so much that would be an outcome, a consequence.